How's it going, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Crypto Clout. I am your host, FaZe Crypto. We have a billionaire makes a case for the $1 million Bitcoin. Google Trends now has pretty much exploded with people searching for Bitcoin despite the overall bearish sentiment that we had been seeing. But let's be honest, markets in general are pretty bearish right now. However, we are seeing Bitcoin broken some key resistance levels now, coming in at the time of recording this video at 7,282, and breaking past out of that $6,000 psychological barrier is really important, and it will be a very big variable as we see a lot of these different things starting to shape up. So really what I want to talk about in this video is the case for the next real level of resistance. I would say would be going above and beyond this sort of region where we witness Bitcoin being traded in right now, and pretty much is the potential there for the $9,000 Bitcoin, which will be a pretty interesting, I think, impact on the market, especially with what we've been seeing happening today on a global level. We're seeing a lot of recovery happening with the sort of health crisis that has been a big factor in every market's pretty much been affected. But today we've seen stocks and so forth really coming back into their own. So it is sort of interesting to see business as usual starting to reassert itself. And we have to remember, where was Bitcoin before all this really even started up? It was trading around that $10,000 level, and we still have the halving that's right around the corner, but that's not really what I want to talk about here. I would really like to just make the case that I think most of all people haven't forgotten about Bitcoin. I think that the lesson that we've learned from a lot of these different things, just seeing the different reactions that have happened with the recent pandemic that still very much we're in the middle of, and I think probably we're going to see it the same overall slow crawl, the recovery, and I hate to say it, but it'll probably take until sometime around June and so forth to actually watch a lot of these different things finally come back to the status quo. But all that aside, I think it will be very interesting to see just how cryptocurrency has proven itself in this time. Bitcoin's done exactly what it's had to do, and I think that it's actually proven itself in a way that's been giving it in, putting it in front of a lot of those eyeballs that otherwise may not have actually been the audience that Bitcoin might have. So let's be honest, retail purchases of cryptocurrency are probably coming slow to a crawl because people are trying to put their money into more liquid assets, just trying to have cash and wondering more or less, probably paying less attention to their investments and more so trying to pay attention to having food to eat, a roof over their head, pay the rent, pay the car bill, and all these other practical needs. Whereas in the booming market, people might be looking forward to actually seeing Bitcoin be able to outperform, then of course be one of those assets that's able, the digital assets. So one of the really interesting things that I'd say that we saw during the recent events that have been transpiring was, in fact, the overall people who've the increase in full coiners, because before we actually saw a very, very small number of actual Bitcoin wallets that contained a full Bitcoin, but we saw basically history repeated itself. Bitcoin dropped down as low as that $3,000 region and traded there for a while, giving plenty of people an opportunity to scoop up a full Bitcoin if they seized the opportunity. And I would still argue that $7,270 Bitcoin is very much a sale comparatively when we consider where we're going to actually see these things go. Now, of course, there is that whole talk about the recent breakthroughs that we saw in quantum computing, and of course, how is the Bitcoin sort of encryption going to stand up towards the future of a lot of these different aspects of these things. But I would say in the very short term, I do remember remain having a very bullish sentiment as far as seeing how we're going to fare up in terms of how many different currencies have been acting on the global stage. And it will be very interesting just to see how these different proof of concepts are able to survive and flourish in various different contexts. And I think that when we want to talk about Bitcoin and we're looking at the different opportunities that are here to, and of course looking forward into the very near future, I think that we will be seeing an influx in people who've taken an interest in these sort of things just as a result of a lot of the different lessons that have been learned and a lot of the different things that there's various conclusions and ugly truths that we've been forced to look at and of course face down. So definitely interesting note and a different perspective in that front. But of course, remember, this video is for entertainment, educational purposes only. This is only my current perspective on the market. I'm actually recording this video on my phone. That's probably why the audio is a little bit different. But hey, just like I was saying, always remember, I'm not your dad, not your financial advisor. It's a very high risk, high volatility market, but I can see some pretty big potential for Bitcoin as we see a lot of these different variables coming into full fruition, as we see a lot of these different things, the different aspects of the space really compiling upon one another. And I think that the future of blockchain and of course the digital currency sort of revolution is right upon us. So very exciting things. Hope you guys have enjoyed this video. See you guys in the next one. Have a good one.